Okay, I hope that helps.
Uh,
Okay, my update. So I'm trying as best I can to finish this article on. It was going to be about epistemic security in general, but I focused on hybrid warfare as a beginning. Of course, like all these efforts, it turns into a series of articles. So it's almost done. It's focusing on hybrid warfare, and I just kind of laid out a recipe for a successful hybrid warfare, and then tried to say how the canonical debate would intervene to provide a good defense. Um, if you get the time, please give it a read. I'm just on the conclusion now, and I think like the in the introduction, I just kind of made some I did try on my video. In the introduction, I just had some citation needed or whatever. But other than that, I guess the text is pretty much done. I need to review it, of course, but any feedback you have would be greatly appreciated. And then
Where's the
after that,
link?
I'll send the link again. I sent it way back, but I'll send it again in the group. Yeah, after this one, I'm going to talk about epistemic security in general, but I'm probably going to go piece by, it'll be an ongoing series. So probably the next thing will be reviewing this one paper that was on evidence collages, which was a case where they showed how using certain techniques on social media, a point of view was able to be propagated despite resistance. Like it wasn't just like an information bubble where everybody agreed. It was like people were trying to challenge, but through certain
oh,
mechanisms, they
that's
were able to
interesting.
push. Yeah. And then just show, I mean, it's pretty easy how the canonical debate would help in that point, because the main point is fragmentation. They were able to kind of cherry pick the best little pieces and make it look like one piece of good evidence and keep pushing it forward without the contradictory evidence going along with it. So that'll be probably my next short
Using the
article.
right rally, is that the one?
Are you looking at my list of articles, or you just
No, I'm looking at, well, I Googled and I got mediamanipulation.org. So that's another one. I Googled evidence collage.
Yeah, this would be disinformation by design, the use of evidence collages, and
that was my second hit.
Platform filtering. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It does look interesting. Oh, John Donovan, of course. Oh, so it's the same people, right? John Donovan is involved in the media manipulation casebook.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't read that one yet. So
yeah, it's this media manipulation casebook is totally worth reading. It's a whole kind of design pattern of media manipulation.
That's the kind of thing I've been looking for, as a matter of fact. So if you have a link, send it on the way. Yeah. I need to have it on my list.
And I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the John Donovan involved one. Yeah, that's her. That's her. So yeah, she's really doing amazing work. She's one of the real.
Wait, what is it? Mediamanipulation.org?
Yep. I just put it finally.
Okay. Yeah, I have a list of future research links.
Yeah, I really, okay, a quick question. Are you publishing this as yourself or as CDL?
Both. It's going into the CDL Medium blog or whatever publication.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think make it clear it's yours. I think we should publish things as CDL that we plan collectively and write collectively, which might be a different article, which I'm absolutely fine with us doing individual articles, but then make it clear when it's CDL collective versus Tim on behalf of the CDL, which is perfectly legit, even if we review that as.
Right. I don't know if we want to do a separate publication, or we want to do like I don't know what you can do on Medium to highlight different. I mean, there are different authors. It does that, but it doesn't do, I think, like this is an official certified statement by.
Yeah. And I think we should read it and make sure that, I don't expect to disagree with anything, but make sure that this is. So yeah, looking forward to reading it, absolutely. I've been reading, sorry, it's my status update, besides all the time I spent last week on, as you know, other things. I've been telling you about Reason, The Enigma of Reason, have I?
The what?
Say that again?
I don't
The
think
Enigma
so.
of Reason. Okay. So this is a book by Hugo Mercier and Dan Sperber. I think Stephen was familiar with it. And he said, oh yeah, Hugo Mercier. I linked to an article of his earlier. It's an absolutely fascinating book for us. He goes, I'll try to give the Cliff's Note. He's saying, we all know now that there are all kinds of cognitive biases, and reasoning, the human faculty of reasoning has all kinds of flaws. And it's ridiculous that something would have evolved with so many flaws, and that's not how evolution works. So if we think of flaws, it must be that we're not understanding the purpose and the evolutionary pressure. And the problem is we've been thinking about rationality wrong. It's not meant for people to reason alone, and it is bad at it because that's not what it evolved for. It evolved for reasoning in small groups. It evolved, and that means, for example, the fact that we have all this confirmation bias. In a way, it's optimized for distributing the work. So many people look at many ideas, each of them find confirmation for their idea, and then they confront in the small group, so that everybody is only in charge of defending their idea, and the group can arrive at truth that way. And actually, in that situation, rationality works fairly well. And there's a whole, yeah, but you need to trust but verify, and epistemic trust, and there's all these caveats on this about, the evolutionary pressure. But he's very much saying, think of what it's being optimized for, and don't think of it as flawed, but as satisfying a different set of conditions. And obviously, something that's optimized for small group reasoning will fail miserably in individual thinking and in large-scale collective thinking. So how to reproduce the felicity conditions of human cognition in the situation of large-scale collective stuff, but by breaking things down in small group that have this epistemic checking. Very fascinating. That part, that's mine. That's not in the book, or at least not so far. But the thing of how do we scale it up? But they do say, of course, it won't work in a large group because that's, again, not what it's optimized for. That's still part of the book. So absolutely fascinating book.
Yeah, that's interesting. It makes sense. It matches my intuition on things like, why are there conspiracy theorists and that sort of thing. On a larger scale, it's kind of the evolutionary advantage of variety, right? Where you've got to have somebody who are out there thinking kind of crazy things that have a small chance of being true, because then they're collecting information on that thing.
And the group can still decide, nope, we don't buy it. And again, the group can be right or wrong, but overall, it's a good strategy. But again, if you have this shared group, shared goals, and basic trust, because again, it's a small group, it's a clan, they fail or thrive as a group. Once you take these conditions out, things go haywire. So very, very interesting. And that reinforces Jack's intuition with SenseCraft, the guild dynamic he's trying to inject in SenseCraft. So that's interesting for me. But I'm thinking very much about the fractality of rationality and what can we do what are the necessary conditions for optimal cognition. So that's great fun. And I highly recommend the book. It's well written. It is not Science. I got it from the How Minds Changed. It was one of the key references. As oh yeah, a lot of the insights that really interest me seem to be from that book. So let me go there. And I'm so happy I did. So thank you for. Okay.
Bentley, do you want to
Oh,
give a
yes.
status?
I mean, yeah. I rebranded. Y'all have probably seen this as Reasonpedia because Gullybot, people were still confused to whether it was AI and it wasn't getting the clear enough thing across. I'm currently investigating how dangerous it is for your heart when you're on kind of a standard keto diet, because I am, and if I'm going to do some research, I might as well do something that benefits myself. And then I'm waiting for Jamie to publish. So she said I could reuse her data, attribute it back to her, but put some subsections of it, because Reasonpedia can't handle that high level of a thing, but take some of the debate things that she's done and see if I can put it in Reason Score and put those up on the site and start getting feedback and doing, kind of what Marc-Antoine was talking about, getting skeptics to look at it and kind of poke holes in it, to do that kind of group thinking. So that's the next step. I'm going to just be calling it an alpha and an experiment. So I update the homepage every week, so feel free to check it out at any time. Yeah, so that's, I'm probably going to rewrite the code to break it up into a whole bunch of parts so I can more quickly experiment with different UI ideas. And then I don't know if I talked about this before, but I used to have the bucket diagram, which I think kind of intuitively tells people how trustworthy this is, but I'm using the kind of hashed out to show that there's something missing. So like something can be true, but if it's hashed out, if it's kind of like faded out, then something, even though it's true, there's something that's either counterbalanced by other facts or it's misleading in some way. So I'm still kind of favoring that way to visualize a single claims analysis. I'm starting to call them summaries rather than scores, just to try not to trigger people's belief that this is kind of an absolute thing. It's just kind of like, this is where this is the score in the game right now, and the game never ends. So don't take it as gospel. You're supposed to, it's just a coordinate system, right? So this is where the data is right now. So trying to get that across. So, the hardest thing about doing all this is explaining it to people. So it's even harder than this mapping we've been working on for 2 years, 3 years now.
Did you manage?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Did you manage to show it to someone else who didn't see it before? And like,
I've shown it to probably 5 or 6 people over the last couple months in different stages. And I find that the people that work more in the intuition space are less analytical. Still, even when I like explain, they have to see the summarizing analysis scoring process in action in order to understand it. So I have to figure out a way to, I've made videos where you can see claims being added and the scores kind of changing, and I think that'll help, but I got to redo those with the new UI. Yeah. And at some point, I think I am going to spend the money to have, there's some services where you can do UX testing or whatever, and you could ask people some questions, and average people will go and try and use your software and tell you how it, how they feel about it. So
Cool. I'd like to see. I guess I have to go to your site, but see these latest evolutions because I haven't had a look in a long
Yeah,
time.
and right now
So,
it's just
yeah.
the landing page, so you can't even see any of the data because that's what I was working on. So I'll let if you follow the Bentley projects thing, I'll post when I get some data and the new UI, and that'll be or video. That'll be probably more useful. Although, you know, any feedback, Felix gave me some time and Marc-Antoine gave me some time to provide feedback. So that was valuable and kind of got me to where I am now. Even though there's no perfect way to explain it, it's better.
All right. So yeah, maybe not today. Maybe after the article's out, I'll hit you up
Yeah,
and see if I
yeah.
can have a look. I forgot one other little update, which is that I had a one-on-one conversation with Mike Elias, the Ideamarket guy. It was interesting. I mean, it was mostly me doing an information dump on him rather than the other way around. I mean, the interesting about Ideamarket, which I didn't know, is it's essentially, you know, it validates my thesis for why blockchain, right? You know, he's essentially trying to do canonical debate on the blockchain. And the why of that, I mean, there's all the reasons we've talked about for architectural benefits, right? Censorship resistance, permanence, all that stuff. The other why is it's a funding model, right? And what's interesting about that is that you know, in the past when I went through, you know, how can I create a startup and make money or even get rich while solving this problem for the world, right? And a lot of times I went to, oh, you know, Google would totally love to buy this, or you know, be that sort of thing. What a rich information source for Google. And then I was like, oh, dang, you know, what a privacy violation. What, you know, what, all the problems that come with that is, and plus what happens when people don't trust Google and all that stuff. So, you know, that's why I stopped doing it. And then, you know, it's always been ideas of an add-on layer 2 thing on top of a fully independent layer 1 type solution, right? Have been my ideas for Ideamarket. The model is interesting because like every other business model I've seen, the problem is it leads to accusations of either profit, what do you call it? Profit motivations or control, right? That sort of thing. And by doing it on the blockchain, what their business model is to participate, you use their token, right? So they have a token and you get investors in the token. People give you cash up front to own token ahead of time, and you own token, and you hope the token goes up in value, and then you're making money by selling the token, and your investors get rich that way, right? What's interesting about that model is it doesn't directly impact the model of the system itself necessarily, right? The data can be fully on the blockchain, fully immutable, censorship free, all that stuff. And you've put out a contract where, you know, it ensures that it writes it in stone. And then you're free from accusations of manipulating because you simply can't, right? And so it preserves that. That's very interesting. The problem is, of course, then what do you do to get the value of your token up? And in the case of Ideamarket right now, you know, I went into essentially for him all the reasons that, you know, Kialo or something like Ideamarket, I think, won't work, right? All the complexities that he hasn't thought through yet. And including, you know, for complete trust in the system, we have this problem of curation, right? Incremental formalization, need for curation somehow, whether it's crowdsourced or it's by an elite group or whatever. And I was talking about those trade-offs, and And essentially for Ideamarket, they don't have curation, but they have some kind of scoring, which is everybody votes and you use your tokens to vote on whether you agree with this or you agree with that sort of thing. And there is a score that's presented to everybody, right? And well, where does that score come from? And is it like, Plutarchy or something? Can you buy votes on that thing and everything? And he said, well, no, we don't want that. But what we do have then are high reputation users, whose essentially votes on those things count more. And I don't know if it's like there's a proof of stake type approach there where the more they stake, there is a bit of staking. I think there's a proof of stake, which is like, because they have a financial investment in this platform and this community, they're not going to try to cheat, right? But I don't really fully believe in that type of incentive. And it looks to me like there's a strong possibility for capture and bias in that solution so far. And he says, yeah, okay, this is an incremental thing. This is the first attempt, and we'll see from there. But yeah, Marc-Antoine, you had many things you wanted to say.
Yeah, I'm trying to think a lot about what are good economic models for this that are not about capturing value, that are about letting everybody have a say, but allow the system to thrive and us to eat while we are developing it, which doesn't take that much, but some. And the whole question of tokens and blockchain. First, I'm down against blockchain for many reasons. Of course, the proof of work has been an ecological disaster. I'm not against decentralized, that's different. Have everybody having the whole chain is ridiculous in terms of data storage. We have to have a decentralized storage solution. And the whole, there's many, okay, let's say there's many chain solutions that don't allow that, but some do. But we also need, and the whole question of oligarchy, really, right? When you, as you said, tokens are a way to ensure oligarchy and first mover advantage, and there's this very important balance to find. I don't think I have a solution there. I'm thinking about it, but I'm certainly seeing a lot of very naive thinking about it and a lot of non-naive, very elaborate thinking, but it's like, but they still haven't thought about that. and the whole question of, for example, basic things such as you're bringing an idea into an ecosystem. It has value, of course, but what if it's not your idea? How do you attach the idea to whoever originated it? What if it's a dead person? What if, and the whole balance between the need for recognition, which I think is a basic human need, and the need for knowledge commons and against intellectual, like rigid intellectual property, and recognizing the value of intellectual work, that it's worth something and it's work, and this trilemma in a way. But a lot of what I see with tokens is appropriation and first mover advantage. And that is so, what I think is fundamental, and some of the money people do think about it, is, for example, deflationary, so that you don't let people, it's against whales, not quadratic, it's more about deflationary, and so that I've seen a model of saying people are rich when they give. If they cannot because they're poor or because they're misers, that's poverty in either case. That was in Ursula Le Guin's Always Coming Home. And I think it's the same with knowledge. Like, can we have an incentive system that favors transmission and mentoring? Because it's against a very individualistic value, and one that promotes thesaurization of tokens, but more about promoting people who pass it on and empower. And for me, can we think tokens that way? Of course we can, but are we doing it?
I mean, I think, yeah, and my position on all of that is that I believe more in the intrinsic value of these things than probably most people. In that, like, I think people will be putting up information for reasons other than financial gain or even fame, enough that it should sustain the viability of the system in terms of the quantity of information or the quality. That's my fundamental belief. I think there are going to be edge cases, but I don't think I would want to bake in a profit system or an economy into the baseline of providing information, right? I could see things on top, right? Oh, this is a really information poor debate that we think is important. Let's raise money and pay people to contribute. Sure, you could do that on one-off things, but I don't want that built into the whole system. I want to depend on that.
That's fair to me. I'm certainly, I'd rather knowledge were free.
I mean, an edge case there is like investigative journalism, right? Investigative journalism,
Exactly.
Original science, and like original sources. That needs to, but that exists on its own. We would need to look at how the canonical debate impacts that. I think, for example, there's two kinds of journalism right now, and journalism is to some degree dying, or at least it's undergoing, I wouldn't say death throes, but a serious transformation, and we don't know where it's going to end up, right?
It's a very good example.
And I think that is going to,
that's what I meant by knowledge is work and should be.
And right. No, I agree with
cost
that.
To scientific research.
Right. But the question then is, what would the model look like if, for example, right now there isn't already enough financial incentive for a lot of investigative journalism. It's consolidating to like the New York Times and a couple, and like all local newspapers are dying and that sort of thing. If there was a way somebody could create on top of the canonical debate a model where, by contributing original new claims, I could see that as being a new business model. I don't know if it would be in that case highlighting who contributed it. It's kind of like the fact check organizations or something. I don't know. That's a model that would have to evolve. I wouldn't also want to bake it into the system.
That I have sympathy for. Baking the tokens in the system, I think, is a problem. I would agree with that. And then there's the question of, which is what the person you were talking to was doing, right? And
sort of. I mean, I think he said that.
But for reputation, he's doing it for reputation. And the question is the reputation, if the reputation scoring is based on token, that's baked into the system already.
Well, sort of, no, it's the governance on top. I think I didn't get into the details of how the platform works, so I don't fully know, but I think that like the scoring on top is the platform that's running that pulls the scoring together. And I don't think it's like baked into the contract that's the score. I think, right? I think they calculate it after the fact through other things, like they pull off how many tokens are staked and other things, and then lay it onto the website, which means that, say the tokens just vanish, or the layer 2 just vanishes or whatever, you could build a new interface that pulls that out without the scoring. Okay, and the question is, could people contribute to it? And I was trying to get an answer to that. I didn't quite understand the answer. I think he seemed to say yes, you could do all these things without the IMO token, but like I think it ends up being ETH, but I don't know if I don't know who has a right to write to the original contract, and he was willing to show me the contract itself. And that
wasn't it like connected to Twitter or something, and then you just vote on tweets? Or I think they integrated like real world URLs in it, but I'm not sure. But like what I find great about this project is that they're iterating so much. Like I subscribe to their newsletter, and like every once in a while they give a product update with a almost completely different product. So that's great.
Right.
Interesting.
That's cool.
I just put another project, authenticated distributed data in the Slack channel. Oh, by the way, agenda item before we go into other stuff. Agenda, we're losing our full Slack access on September 1st.
What does that mean, full Slack access?
I just had a little message on Slack saying, oh, from now on, it's going to be only the last 90 days.
Oh, I see. They're changing their model. Yeah, for that, my solution is getting nonprofit status, and then like we should get back the entire history. Moving to Discord would be, we would lose all the history and we would start over and then have permanent history as long as they continue to give free permanent history.
We have the same problem in Topic Quest. The Topic Quest does have nonprofit status, so it's not a big deal for us, but we've been considering migrating to Matrix, and it is not terrible. There are tools that will take your Slack history and feed the Matrix server with it.
But it probably doesn't have access to our full history. We would have to.
You can download your full history from Slack. Still,
can you even if you're
right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's not accessible in the interface, you say?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, until September 1st, I'm sure we won't be able to download it after September 1st. But that's why I'm saying we should think about it now. Can we make the transition?
Yeah.
But can we make the transition actually? Do we want to make the transition? I mean, if you're saying we're getting nonprofit status anyway, okay, fine, maybe that's a solution. But certainly take the whole history before.
Yep.
And I don't want us to be in a situation where we download, but then there's all this between the download and getting decided to migrate that becomes
right.
costly. So I'd rather we either decide to migrate or not before September 1st.
Oh, is it? You already migrated, right? With Matrix? Like,
no, I started looking at it. I determined the tool exists, and I'm going to look into it seriously because.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go. I'm late. So unfortunately I won't even be around for the main event, but bring this up again. Show me the matrix or whatever is the new tool so I can see if it's viable.
You could also do it with Mattermost or stuff, but I'm being a big matrix fan right now.
Okay.
For all kinds of reasons I could get into. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, Tim.
See ya.
Okay, going into a lot of stuff today.
Yep.
Good day, good day. Let me share. So this is not claiming that, this is it, but this is where I've been.
What's the context of this?
We start, the context is Bentley's been asking for, let's crowdsource, or let's contract out the other tool database. And then we said, okay, let's agree on what people are supposed to put in the database, and let's agree on the rows and blah, blah, blah. And we had something basic, and I said, all right. And then I said, okay, let's rethink this. And and we had agreed 2 weeks ago, let's each come up with, here are the features and goals that I come up with, and we'll merge them when we have all done a pass. Now, maybe the solution, maybe I shouldn't talk about what I've done until you've had done your homework. That's a possibility. So we get more distributed intelligence that way. Or I can go through what I've thought and you can comment. Both are good.
I'm happy to talk about yours. Don't see myself doing the homework in the coming week.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So let's do it. I started with the features for some reason. Was easier for me, I guess. So operations, what was that? Operations, options, sorry. So this is Okay. Is the goal the same? Some features, just generic question, probably not, but I think it's interesting to think about. Functional features. So user input of new options, what I mean here is if we're thinking of vote-oriented platforms, is it closed vote or open vote? Is it multi-user? You know, is it a few people or everybody can add new votes? Or is there a filter? Sorry, new options to be voted on, or is it a few people? That's a feature. User votes, of course, is a feature. Is reputation is a subcase, and then we can go into how is reputation measured. Decision support is a feature. And when you say decision support is making it explicit that among the options, this is about taking a decision. So what are the likely impacts? Why do we know those are likely impacts? How do we know this is what we want versus, you know, deontic? So what it is we should do, not do, what results do we want or not want? So is that explicitly part of the system? That's a feature. It's also a goal, but I decided to put it more into features. Notion of mapping, local, global, curated. I think I don't need to go into that.
I mean, local is like when it's like an isolated map for some specific topic.
This is
right?
one topic, what's around, calculate everything that's around this one topic.
Mm-hmm.
Full map local, full map global, probably illegible, or curated, that is partial map of the neighborhood.
But what would, where would Kialo be, for example? Because these discussion, that's global, but the discussions there are not connected, right?
Correct. I see what you're saying.
When you talk about mapping there, you're talking about visualizations?
Yes.
UI? Yeah, might be helpful.
Okay.
But again, like where would Kialo fit in global?
Yeah, you're right. It's global fragmented. Or maybe it could be in curated.
Yeah, because many systems do it like this. They like really have like a different map for a different discussion, right?
Full view subset. So that would be the Kialo case. Thank you. That's exactly the kind of. You're right. I wasn't clear enough on the main use case. Because many will fall in that thing. How much meta information is there? More precise. Provenance. Provenance is the main one, but there may be other.
Meta information in general, or like or are we assuming a specific entity, like a claim?
Whatever the basic unit of the tool is. That's actually a very good question.
It's hard to categorize because if they're using different entities, then it's or like at least like, yeah, what's the basic unit? Yeah, okay.
For meta information, do you think it's useful to mention history there, or is that separate?
That's
Doesn't matter.
absolutely. Yeah, it could be separate. What do you think? I'm happy to make it separate.
That's fine. Let's leave it there for now. We can break it out.
No, that's linking. Wiki links 1 page per concept. So that's also a scaling thing. Versus, you know, kind of I should. Backlinks and transclusions. Those are features of linking, sub-features of linking.
Tags, maybe. Tags also a form of linking.
I agree.
Do we want to have a distinction for systems where they can have different types of links, not just a link?
No, good point.
Yeah, very good point.
Type links. Actually, an interesting feature is these immigration links.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there facilitation support? That's a feature, generic feature, and it can take many forms. Is there?
Can you elaborate facilitation support?
Yes. Is there, if there's a disagreement, is it possible to say, okay, this is a disagreement and we need to have some conflict resolution process? Like I'm thinking.
Okay. But like you're talking about disagreement or like editing conflicts? Or both?
Yeah, well, editing conflicts I see as a manifestation of disagreement. The notion that there's a moderator role and the moderation process is baked into the tool. The tool has a way for moderators to do something different. Deduplication and illegality, automated reasoning in some shape or form. This probably has many sub-features, sub-cases. I'll go into it, and I should. Import-export facilities. Is there an import conversation capture as an import feature? And what I call semantic support. Distinguish, like saying this phrase can kind of correspond to many ideas, the many-to-many relationship between a phrase and the concept it stands for. So those are CS features. And then in terms of groups, so external memory, like all the tools for thought, not all, but many tools for thought focus on external memory as a goal. Then the focus will be on ease of input and findability. They don't care as much, for example, about deduplication. It's not vital for an external memory tool, but it has to be easy to just enter your thoughts as they go. Like progressive formalization may or may not be a goal for an external memory tool. Group alignment, if that's the goal, what are they aligning on? Are they aligning on goals, as in democracy, on options and decision support, on evidence as science, on actions, task support? Task support is a type of tool where we're helping people align on actions. Facilitation is a process helping people to align on viewpoints. In all of these, and I wish I could make that, I wanted to make this one into, this is an enumeration of subtypes of group alignment. And this is a feature of all group alignment have to focus on prioritization as a feature. There has to be a way to prioritize whatever it is you're aligning people on. So
I mean, it could also be random.
It could, it's a form of prioritizing.
What do you mean
It's a
by
mechanism.
prioritizing?
What?
I know prioritization, but
Oh, sorry.
Because I'm just wondering whether that's priority, by priority or prioritization. Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure I wasn't missing.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Non-native boo-boo. Sorry about that one. Prioriser. Group mapping. So this is more modest than group alignment, but it's the same basic categories. Are we mapping goals, options, blah, blah, blah. And here the focus is on global curated maps, because this is more, we're trying to help people compare goals, options, etc. So it's a different focus. Let me put the focus with a star uniformly. I wanted to be able, I discovered that unlike HTML or Markdown, it's not possible to mix ordered and unordered list in Google Docs. Onboarding. If the goal is onboarding, then the focus is on ways to help newcomers into a conversation with curated documents or maps or whatever.
Or tutorials and this kind of
Tutorials,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
But if the goal is onboarding, I think that's a generic type of goal. Augmented validation. That is among the goals, that's among the sub-goals of automated reasoning. It's about being able to detect inconsistencies in a large knowledge base. And augmented knowledge generation, again, propose new fact rules from large knowledge base. Like, these are AI tasks. This is too much for one brain. So can we use AI or even crowdsourcing collective process, but either for finding inconsistencies or for adding to the knowledge base? And then the structuration is extremely important because you're trying to get AI involved.
And the whole validation thing is probably what's the term for it? Fallacies, right? Detecting fallacies.
Detecting contradictions first and fallacies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. I haven't seen any tool yet that actually does this.
No. Let me think. No. Well, theorem provers.
Ah, sure. Yeah. Like, yeah.
It's a very specialized case, but augmented knowledge generation, it's all of AI and machine learning. And the other goal, of course, is immune system versus disinformation. And there the focus is on evidence, provenance, reputation, everything that helps you. So this is not the same as validation. It's more, though it's the same goal in a way, but it's more about, it's more of a soft goal. Validation is more of a hard goal. Immune system is more of a soft goal, but it's also identifying likely sources of epistemic attacks. So these are, I see as the very, very high level goals for knowledge systems. It's a very high level of abstraction. A lot of things we put in goals like decision making and this and that, for me, they're means towards these high level goals.
I think that's a very good start, Marc-Antoine. Good overview.
So
Yep.
Welcome to comment and add. And I think that could be an article or not. I don't know, or the basis for, but that's not a story.
Yeah. But like the goal right now is that the contractor understands it and can action on it, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I
And
think the
that-
next steps for that would be making all those as tags in the Airtable,
with definitions.
and then have us go through and do some examples, right?
True. Yeah, examples are the most important thing here.
Absolute approval.
Try it on our own systems, and then also, maybe have 2 of us do, or 3 of us do Kialo separately and see if we get the same
Interesting.
results.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good idea. there's a statistical measure in psychology for how good is your categorization system, and measuring whether different people arrive at the same categories and whether it's better than chance and blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to remember, I think our score, not our score, but there's a score specifically for that problem.
Cool.
Are your categories clear enough?
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll put each individual sub point as a separate, just for now, as a separate tab.
Oh yeah, they should be.
And then I'll put the main category in a separate column so we know what the association was.
Yep.
And then the definition, you know. So I might shorten them down to some of them where you have parentheses and stuff. That'll all be moved to the definition, of course.
Yep.
Unless we think it's necessary. Do we think we need to have that done before people go in and try and categorize their own
I would say
projects?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, we have to agree on something. Doesn't have to be agreeing on that, but we have to agree on something. And that's my first draft proposal, and open to revisions and contributions and blah, blah, blah. But
I mean, I think with me and Felix here, it's a quorum. So I think we can
proceed.
go proceed provisionally, and then, you know, people can add or ask for
Yep.
clarification. We'll adjust as we go. So I'll go ahead and put them into the Airtable.
Yep.
Okay.
If you hit me up at the end of the week, I might be able to help and have a session together, Bentley, if you like.
Oh, I think it
Oh, yeah,
should-
like, if you don't need help, sure. Just
yeah, no, by the time I got your help, I'd be done.
Yeah.
Like
Feel
30
free to hit
minutes.
me to ask questions and clarifications. I mean, I ran through them, but some things
Well,
new
I'm gonna
questions
put-
may come up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put your raw text. If I notice anything when I'm doing it more than
Yeah.
what I noticed here, then I'll definitely
And,
ask out. But
and
I
I'll
think
add-
it'll happen when we try and assign it to, you know, a project. That's when we'll hit
I'm
the
all for it.
wall.
Okay. And we're at the hour.
Great.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
Okay,
Then,
so Felix, you're gonna edit the video when it.
yeah, I actually I started the recording after we
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
talked about the early stuff.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you
Okay,
later.
bye.
Bye.